So back to the video editor, and we're going to add in the movie that's got the audio on it. So we'll choose Add, Movie, navigate to the folder where it is, and then choose the footage that you view. So Nightmare track for me, and make sure you turn off Adjust Playback Rate. You don't want this to affect anything else that we've already got set up. And then choose Add Movie Strip, and we'll change the start frame, in fact, to frame 1, and then Add Movie Strip. And just double check nothing's changed, so we should still be on 30 frames per second, and all this is the same frame range as well. Right, so we can delete the video track. If we leave this in, it's going to overwrite what we've got in the compositor, which we don't want. And you can tell which one's the video track by clicking on it. The audio one gives you the option to see the waveform. So I'm just going to click on the movie one, or the video one, and press X to delete it. And I'll zoom out a bit, and I want this to finish right at the very end, because we've used 134 to 411. So I'm just going to drag this until it's right at the end. Might bring it up above actually. Doesn't matter, but it's just a bit easier. There we go. So it's right at the end. And now I want to bring in the footsteps to make the robot's integration in the scene even more realistic. And if it's a bit too loud, we can turn the volume down a bit. So I might turn that down to 0.5. And I might turn that down a bit as well. Maybe let's just have a look at the waveform. In fact, no, that should be fine. When you're looking at your waveform, you've got to be careful if you don't do it too high. Because if you go too high, you get these red markers showing you that you're going to get audio clipping, which will sound horrible. So always make sure you don't get any of those red lines. And if you're not sure you've got the audio level right, Blender's very limited in terms of giving you information on decibels and things like that. You generally want to keep it to around about the loudest portion of the video to about -10 decibels. Now we can't see what it is in here. So what I do in that instance is I'll just open up YouTube and I'll check the audio of a YouTube video. Maybe Turbo Tools is an add-on that allows you to use far fewer samples with cycles. Still get incredible quality. So I'll just tweak my audio based on that, just to get the level sounding approximately the same. And then we'll do the same with the one above. I mean, this is quite low already, so it might be okay. Maybe just turn it up a tad. And finally, we'll add the steps. So I've included an audio file of a person walking along a gravel path. So I'll drag that file in. And now the trick is we need to get these footsteps to line up with the footsteps in the video. So in order to make sure that you do this correctly, you need to make sure that the 3D viewport isn't lagging. You need to make sure that it's in sync with the audio. And to do that, we'll go to the playback option on the timeline. For the sync option, just change this to sync to audio. And then when you play back, the 3D viewport is going to drop some frames to ensure that it stays in sync with our audio so that you're getting the correct results. Let's just play this back. And now everything's in sync. And then we'll just drag the audio to the beginning, find a section that has not got anything too loud in it, and then all we'll do is try and align the spikes in the waveform with the footfall of the robot. And once we've got a little bit lined up, providing the audio stays in sync, that it's a constant walking speed in the audio, then it will match the robot, because the robot's feet are always a constant speed as well. So I'm just going to zoom in until we've got a foot on the floor, which is always going to be this first frame, I believe. Let's just double check. We'll zoom out. We'll probably isolate the robot in actual fact. Let's isolate the shoes. Go into isolation mode. I'm going to come to the foot. So the foot lands here on that frame. So I get the audio and I put a footfall on that frame. And we'll go forward. Oh, perfect. Just zoom out a bit. It's gone out of sync a little bit. Well, maybe it's, hang on. Might be alright. Let's have a look in this view. No, it's getting a bit too out of sync. So I think it just needs speeding up just a tiny bit. So we need to change the speed of this. Now this has changed a little bit in Blender 4, but we'll cover 3.6 first. So all I'm going to do is come across to the time. So we can stretch this out with the speed factor. Let's try 1.1. And then we'll just need to adjust the position to get that spike in the audio waveform to realign with the first frame where the foot lands. It's right there. Let's try that. Almost. We'll go with 1.05. Let's try that. And again, we'll just make sure it's lining up. Looks pretty good to me. And in Blender 4, this has been improved quite dramatically. We've no longer got the speed factor in the time panel. Instead, we've got the show retiming keys. So if I click on this one, it will show us the retiming keys at the beginning and the end. And these you can drag to change the speed of the clip. So you see it's 100% currently. If I drag this to the left, either by pressing G and just moving it, or just dragging it manually, then we can change that percentage in the middle, speed it up or slow it down by dragging it to the right. The beauty of this is we can actually add more keys onto the clip, onto the selected clip, to make sure that particular areas of the audio don't move. So if I press I here, add a retiming key. Now we've got another one just here, look, at the beginning. This is going to make sure that when I move the end one, so get this one, this part of the audio is going to stay in place. So I'll drag this now, and you'll see we can time it much more easily. So all I'm going to do is go and watch it all the way through, and then just retime it where necessary. So you see it's going a bit out of sync there. I'll just drag it a little bit inwards. Let's try that. There we go. That's pretty much spot on. So in 4.1, much easier. So we've got everything we need now. We've got the audio for the feet. We've got the audio for the traffic back in there. And of course, we've got the audio for the boobies. And if you wanted to, you could add your own voice in saying something in shock, like, what the? So I've just recorded that in actual fact. I'm going to drop that in. And just be careful again, it doesn't change your frame rate or frame range. So just drag it in and double check over here, nothing's changed. And we'll get rid of the video, we just want the audio. I'm going to put it just about here where I suddenly stop. Put it there. We'll turn the waveform on so we can see exactly where that happened. About here. I'll probably reduce the volume a bit, maybe about here, so it's matching up with the others. Let's try that. What the? There we go. And it's a good idea as well to animate the volume of the footsteps as the robot comes towards us. So obviously further away, it will be quite quiet. So I'll just keyframe the volume. And on the first frame here, I'm going to change the volume of the footsteps to maybe, let's say, 0.3. And then I'll press I to keyframe that. And we'll have it full volume. And the robot gets to about here, let's say. We'll put it back to 1, and then we'll keyframe that. You can see we get this line appear on here as well. And we don't want the volume change to ease in and ease out because the robot's walking in a constant speed, so it needs to be linear. So we'll come across to the graph editor. We've got the graph editor, so all I'm going to do, same as before, is press T and choose linear, and now it's going to be a straight line so that the volume increases in time with the robot's actual speed.